we're in the Big Daddy Armada. And yes, it's basically, as you've heard from probably when it was launched, it is basically a US spec version of the Global Patrol. And that is a very, very exciting thing. And the reason why is because it is actually pretty much the same car that the rest of the world gets. And why is that important? The previous Armada before this was essentially a very watered down version of the Patrol that we got here in the States. The US spec Armada didn't come with the Global Patrol's very comprehensive and very capable terrain management system. This new guy though, however, does. And that's really important, because now we get to really, really take advantage of the potential that this platform has and that the Armada always has. The Armada was a considerably different car, at least the first Armada that we ever got way back in the 2000s, that shared the platform with the Titan, was a very, very different car compared to the Global Patrol. But as the second generation model came, they kind of tightened that gap a little bit more, and then they gave us that US version of the Patrol, which we call the second gen Armada. But now that the third generation, the model that we're in here today, has been kind of like consolidated on a global level and is basically the same car, you know, again, that the rest of the world gets. We get to finally see here in the States, and we get to basically enjoy the off-road capability and the heritage that the Patrol has always been known for. So what a lot of people forget about the Patrol is that it's basically Nissan's answer to the Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's always been the case. You know, you go back looking in the history of the Land Cruiser, you look at the history of the Nissan Patrol, those two have always been the two definitive, bumpy, those two trucks have always been the definitive choice, no matter where you go in the world, if it wasn't a Land Rover. You go to the most desolate parts of Africa, you go to the most desolate parts of Australia, you'll always see a Toyota Land Cruiser or a Nissan Patrol, always. And then who's showing up at disaster-prone areas? It's a Nissan Patrol or a Toyota Land Cruiser if it's not a Land Rover. So that's why this is a truly, truly exciting moment to finally see that we get the true Patrol that we've always deserved. And we're really putting it to the test out here on Tonto National Park. We got a classic body on frame, rugged chassis here. Under the hood, we got Nissan's latest 3.5 liter VR family V6, which is a descendant of the VR V6 found in the GTR. It's not the same engine. It's been obviously detuned significantly. It still has 2 turbochargers, so we're getting 425-ish horsepower, 516 foot-pounds of torque. Basically, all I gotta say is you got all the power that you need out here for this nearly 3-ton Leviathan. And yes, while I do miss burble of the old naturally aspirated 5.6 liter V8 that the old Armada came with, I really don't miss it much. I know that kind of pains me because I'm a V8 guy, but this V6 is definitely very, very capable. And I believe, if my numbers are correct off the top of my head, this V6 actually does produce more torque than the old 5.6 V8. So another really clever feature that's been, you know, coming into a lot of these 4x4s and these off-roaders and these SUVs, thanks to the advent of camera technology, is like these 360s, these really trick 360 surround view cameras. And in particular, the Armada comes with kind of like this forward, like emulated invisible view that kind of like simulates looking through the hood. So A, you can see where the front wheels are grabbing, and B, you can see any sort of obstacles in front of you that are below the hood line that are out of your line of sight, all thanks to this really tricky and clever camera system. Some of you who know me already from my previous videos know that I'm not the biggest individual on new car technology. I'm coming from somebody who drives a 35-year-old Mercedes and a 25-year-old BMW, but this is one of the few technologies I could definitely get behind. I mean, of course, you know, other things too, like air suspension, the different all-terrain management modes for traction and stability and whatnot. What a time to be alive. So what else will we got? Adjustable, selectable, adaptive air suspension. We got Nissan's latest terrain management system as we come around a heavily banked excellent axle articulation as always. Let's see, we got 4 settings on the height control. So right now we're in the max setting because we are crawling around in the desert here in Arizona, and we have everything set up for the sand and kind of desert, I guess, setting. As we can see from the indication on the dial, we got a little car with a cactus next to it. We got a rear locker, automatic 4-wheel drive, 4 high, 4 low, traction control, hill descent control. Yeah, we got the good. Hey guys, Christian here from TopSpeed, and right now I am in the 2025 Nissan Frontier Pro-4X. Now, if that name might sound familiar to you, it's because this is the off-road biased edition of the Frontier. And yes, if you're familiar with the Frontier pickup truck, or the mid-size pickup truck, it's always been a pretty formidable off-roader and a pretty capable and tough, rugged truck. It's basically a successor and comes down to the long-standing heritage and lineage of Nissan's mid-size trucks. And we're talking about some of the old original hard bodies from the 1980s and the early 1990s. Those rugged, boxy Nissan trucks that you used to see in all the commercials, crawling up off-road obstacles and whatnot, keeping up with Toyotas. And basically, in a sense, the Frontier is and has always been Nissan's answer to basically what we consider today the modern Tacoma. Obviously, when it comes to very tough, rugged, and off-road biased vehicles, you don't necessarily want to fix what ain't broke. So what we have here under the hood is Nissan's tried, tested, and true VQ V6, the same V6 that's basically powered every Nissan product for the last 15 or 20 years or so. And in its latest form, we got it displacing 3.8 liters, punching out 310 horsepower, around 280 or so foot-pounds of torque, made it to a ZF Source 9-speed automatic. And of course we got, all the workings that we need here to tackle all the good and rough stuff. So we got 4-wheel drive with 4 high and 4 low, with also a 2-wheel drive. And then we got a rear locking differential. We got all the other goodies such as hill descent control, underbody skid plates. And because this is the Pro-4X version, Nissan just didn't stop there. They gave it, toughened up heavy-duty Bilstein shocks, which are doing a fantastic job of just basically ironing out all the rocks here and all the rough stuff here on the trails. I mean, it is a little bumpy, but off-roading is supposed to be bumpy, and that's part of the fun of it, right? Trucks have always been a very integral part of Nissan's history. Go anywhere, any furthest corner of the world, in third world countries, you go to Africa, Southeast Asia, wherever it may be, in the most desolate parts, sure, you're going to find an old Toyota truck, a Land Cruiser, an old Hilux. Sure, you're going to see an old Land Rover Series 3, Series 3, 2, 1, the predecessor to the old Defenders, and even Defenders old and new. But next to them, you will always see an old Nissan truck, or a new Nissan truck, driving alongside them. Why? Because they've always been known to be capable, rugged off-roaders. And that's the history and the heritage that the Frontier just absolutely summons all together into the car that we have today. Alright guys, so after I would say about 6 or so hours out here in Tonto National Forest in Arizona, just off-roading the crap out of these 2 trucks, the Armada Pro-4X and the Frontier Pro-4X, I gotta say I'm absolutely thoroughly impressed with not only the capability and toughness of them, but they definitely live up to the Nissan truck and off-roader sort of reputation and repertoire that they built globally. Just from this being a U.S. version of the Global Patrol, and how the Patrol has always been known around the world and all the furthest corners of the world to be basically Nissan's answer to the full-size Toyota Land Cruiser. And the same thing goes for the Nissan Frontier Pro-4X. It is not the same as the Navarro, but that doesn't matter because the Frontier has, again, always been a very iconic truck and fixture of the Nissan brand. And so needless to say, if you are a 4x4 fan, or if you like being out here in the wilderness and taking these trucks off-road and doing your thing, these are some examples definitely that you shouldn't overlook. So until next time, thanks for tuning on this little snippet of TopSpeed, and I'll catch you guys next time.